First, let me say, that's a very good Ohio State team, and they done a hell of a job with them. I think Wesson is developing into one of the great centers in our league. I thought our experience helped a little bit in the second half. I was very disappointed in the first half defensively. I thought we were a joke, and we just did not cover. Loose balls, long rebounds, they got everything, and that is intolerable for me. I thought offensively, we had some good shots. They did a good job. I had no problems with our offense, but our defense, we talked a lot this week. Defense travels, and the problem is when you start shooting threes and scoring 80 points a game, you think you can win it a different way. You don't win in this league on the road without your defense, and so I was, disappointed. I told Cash at halftime, and boy, what's really fun in this job, because there's not a lot of things that are, but what really is fun in this job is when you see guys grow, and you see guys get better at something. When you challenge people and those people respond, that's probably the most satisfying part of my job. And Cassius did an unbelievable job this second half. I thought both Kyle and Matt McQuaid, who struggled early, and Nick was solid the whole game. And that's the other guy that grew a lot. We all know it was a disaster down here for him last year, partially because they were really good, partially because he let things get to him. And that maturity it makes me feel good about him. So I was really happy with the job he did. We had some other guys like Aaron Henry, who was absent the first half, did a much better job the second. But in general, that's a good basketball team that it was a physical game. It was a good game, I guess, for TV. And yet we got to play better if we're going to get to where we think we got to get. And I'm sure Chris feels the same way about them.
Tom, last year, you had that similar type of run late in the first half where it flips.
Yeah.
And yet there was a poise to this group in the second half that was different. Is that what you learned about this group tonight?
It was. And I'm going to be honest with you. Halftime wasn't a lot of fun this time because the effort-related things, when that ball bounces on the floor at the free throw line and nobody gets it, when we got a scouting report that tells you who goes right and who goes left. So, I felt comfortable at halftime because I didn't see us like, oh, the roof caved in. But I felt disappointed because, the lack of Josh you really saw today, because he's becoming much better leaders, and that's what Cassius. I mean, let's face it, I'm trying to have Cassius do everything, coach the team, drive the airplane, hell of a deal. But, yeah, it was better. We responded. That's a big key, but why did we let it get to that point as far as that goes? Now, they missed some shots too, so it's not nothing against them. We didn't do the things we were supposed to do the first half.
Tom talked a lot about Nick and feeling like he was more prepared for this, feeling like Nick's a more mature guy. Was today kind of that proof that, yes, all these things we thought about Nick it's all kind of happening right in front of us?
Well, we won the game because of Nick and Cassius, and Nick was solid. We went to him late, got guys in foul trouble. I thought we punched it in there pretty well. I think, but there is a process to that. I use that word about 100 times, and sometimes, if you think back a year ago, when I had a lot of people questioning me about Rutgers and what goes on, I tell Nick, trust me. I'll tell people, you got to trust the system, and this is the way it's supposed to be. There's a couple schools that make it so every freshman just this way at the beginning, but 90% of these schools you grow, just like Diop last year. That kid grew in this program and got better and did an unbelievable job. Nick Ward is heading in that direction. My only question is to you guys, we're not a better team than last year. Don't kid yourself. Can we become one? Maybe, but I think part of that talk too, kids can't handle this stuff anymore. So I'm going to keep coaching, you keep writing, and hopefully they'll keep playing.
Tom, when you look at this game without Joshua, clearly I think biggest win of the season for you guys. Will you talk about this start to the Big Ten 4-0?
It's great because we beat a quality team. I thought we beat a good team in Rutgers. They had just beaten Miami, and they fell off a little bit, but Ohio State is not only a quality team, but very, very well coached. And, we kept using the term the last 3 days, one of the more solid teams we've played. Some teams are high flying and can do this. Some teams are great defensively. Some teams, they are solid in just about every area, which is a great tribute to Chris. And but I'd say in general, anytime you get a road win, other years I'd say anytime you get a road win. Somebody asked me how the win against Northwestern was. I said it was great, because anytime you get a win in this league right now, it's something. If you get a road win, it's frosting on the cake, just because of how difficult the league is. The place was hopping today. It was great.
Coach, can you talk about kind of a throwback battle of the beast out there with Wesson and Nick really going?
Was kind of throwback, and I thought there was physical both ways, and that kid's going to be a good player. I think he's only a sophomore, and he's a young sophomore. I really like Wesson, but you know what? I'm really starting to like my guy, because he's listening. He's getting better. He's staying focused on the task at hand and what he's got to do. And so I love Wesson, but I love Nick Ward a little more. I just thought Cash was, it's hard to explain, but it's sometimes, I told him he needs me on his shoulder, like one of them little devils that are on your shoulder, with a fork. That's what he needs from me. If I'd shrink a little more and I could just stay there. Because as I told him, you don't know what you're doing when you're playing, because the hardest thing in the world is to self-evaluate. And that's why you need a coach. But sometimes you don't like hearing it from the coach. I mean, I told him early on, I kept my composure really well. And right before the half, that was inexcusable what we did. And, give up a three, give up a layup, throw the ball away, give up another three. We played enough of last year's film that they should know better. But you know what? Cassius not only took it, but he built on it. And that's really cool.
Kyle had a pretty impacting game. Can you talk a little bit about the move that he made to break that, or to put you guys back ahead with the dunk, and just the emotion of seeing him and Kenny, those bench guys kind of contribute like they did?
Well, yeah, and right now he's not a bench guy, but you're right. I mean, he's been a bench guy, and I mean, this was a big game for him too. I mean, not only is he in Ohio, but he's got his brother on the other team, and his poor parents had, Buckeye sweaters and Spartan underwear and somebody else's hat. I don't know, it was a hell of a deal. It's a tough deal for them, but it meant a lot to him. And I just loved the way those guys rallied around those two guys. And, I thought Kenny did some really good things, but I thought first half too, he just missing some easy shots, and we were over-helping. We just did some things, but Kyle Arns, that dunk, and then the offensive rebound might have been two of the biggest key plays of the game.
Aaron Henry, late in the game, some pretty critical minutes. How important is that in his continued kind of maturation here?
Well, they're really big, and excuse me, depending what happens with Josh and how long he's out, they become more and more important, and so will Gabe Brown. But I'm just happy we got him some minutes earlier in the year, and so this isn't foreign soil. And yet going on the road in the Big Ten is different than going on the road at Louisville or Florida. It's just different. But I think the fact that we've been on the road in some pretty good places helped this team, and I think it helped our freshmen a little bit. We talked to them about that, the difference with a Big Ten game and how we had that 5-point lead. We missed 2 free throws, and all of a sudden it's back to 1, Those are learning things that seem to happen more in the Big Ten.
Tom, could we get an update on Joshua, please?
Yeah, the only update I have is the future is a lot brighter than it was. I mean, they weren't sure if it was not a stress fracture because it's not in that area, but there didn't seem to be any break or anything, but those things and where it was could be, very long time or not. And I think what they did is they did something to him, and they'll see in the next 2 weeks we should have a clearer idea whether he responds to a little treatment or whether he doesn't. But I feel a little more comfortable today that he's going to respond to that treatment, but I also feel that he's going to miss a little time yet.
Coach, I thought
I think I'm trusting my team and they're trusting me a little more. That's the most pleasing thing. There's certain wins that are big wins, and then there's certain wins that we talked a lot in those huddles at the end about finishing. And I think that's really critical, And when we made that turnover, I don't know how. I've never seen anything like that happen. You step out of bounds, throwing the inbounds pass in. I mean, that was, just ridiculous. But so the good news is we got a lot of work to do to get better and to get good enough to be a real contender for something here. But when you do that and you struggle and you still win, it gives a lot more teaching moments. So that'll be what's encouraging for me.
Time for two more.
76.5
With
from
Kyle
the field
and-
in the second half, 76.5 from the field. Were you getting that?
I wouldn't know because we're back to not being able to see here.
Or did they just start making them?
I thought our break got a little better, and we got some things off that. We cashed in a few more ball screens. We got something out of that. We got a few backdoor plays. Arnie got a big one. I thought we didn't settle for threes as much, but the threes were pretty good shots. I don't know. There's probably a variety of reasons, but I'd say the biggest reason is my brain guy. Mike Cassius, he just played so much smoother. And how many assists did he have? I don't know. 5. Well, he played a lot better than the 5 assists because sometimes he had a hockey assist or he put guys in the right position. And I just thought he was a big difference, even though the back cuts and all the things. He and Nick, two best players now that Josh are out, are supposed to play well for you, especially on the road. My two guys did.
With those two, with Kyle and Nick getting knocked out a little bit, any concern with them moving forward? They obviously came back.
Kyle, I guess, hurt his ankle a little bit. I didn't even know. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know. I'm kind of oblivious to those things. And if it's an injury, I try not to pay any attention. But Nick, no worry about Nick. The one area that he can't hurt is that cranial. That thing ain't getting hurt. He might hurt some other areas, but that thing ain't getting hurt. And, I mean, when I went out there, I said, okay, he popped right up. And he said, yeah, he just got hit in the head, and he got hit, I think, on one of his arms when he hit the floor. But Nick's a tough kid, and so I'm not worried. Kyle, I don't know. Came back and played enough, but they taped it pretty good, so I don't know. Do you know? Anything else?
Tom, you mentioned not panicking.
Yeah.
At halftime. Did that disposition exist in the beginning of the year when things went sideways, or has that developed over the course of these whatever?
I don't know if they ever went sideways. I think what you have is a more experienced team. It's what everybody wants to have, and very few people have anymore. And so I think, after that loss, maybe the first half of the Kansas game, we were awful. Second half, we were pretty good. And then, the loss at Louisville, we're not going to go undefeated. And the loss at Louisville, playing without McQuaid, and then Cash is in foul trouble, Nick in foul trouble. We're no different than any other team. Nobody's good enough to win a lot of games if you have 2-3 guys either out or in foul trouble. So I think you got to give credit to the maturity and I think the experience. The experience matters. But this team's got a long way to go. We don't have a chance to make many mistakes. We don't have a shot blocker in the back. We don't have a guy that can jump up and block a shot. So we still got a long ways to go, but made some progress today. This was arguably a big win, and now we get to turn around and play Purdue at home. So that's the way the league's going to be. Chris is going to have to turn around and play somebody. It's going to be as maybe tough a league as I've been in my 24 years here. Thanks a lot.